Like and subscribe. On the way in the door, people. I wasn't gonna talk about this, but I was watching The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard, Rob Parker, and they were talking about this. Everybody's been talking about this. So I said, let me weigh in. But before we get into it, let me say this. Friends, how many of us have them? It is important that you actually have real friends. And what I mean by that is friends who will actually tell you the truth. When I was growing up, my circle of friends, thankfully, we all held each other accountable. When any one of us was doing things that could jeopardize our future, another one of us would pull that person aside and say, hey, look, man, you keep this up and it's gonna lead you to a place you don't wanna go. And while we may not have always listened, to me, number one, it planted a seed of change. And number two, it just showed that we were surrounded by a friend group that really actually cared about each other, because we would not co-sign the BS. We would tell each other when we were messing up. And that is something I do not take for granted. And I hope that you all have friends in your circle like that. And on that note, let's talk about Rich Paul. So, fanboys, here we go. I'm gonna give your king some credit. The one thing I do credit LeBron with is bringing along his childhood friend on this ride, letting him become his agent and become successful as well. And that's enough of that. Now, let's get to the point. So on The Odd Couple, Chris Broussard and Rob Parker were talking about, I guess, Rich Paul recently appearing on some podcast. Maybe it was Gil's Arena or No Chill Gil, whichever one. And, well, two things. I guess Rich Paul said that LeBron is the GOAT because no one has had to endure this amount of scrutiny with social media and whatnot. And I don't know, something else. But anyway, Chris Broussard said something to the effect that, of course, Rich Paul is going to call LeBron the GOAT. Like, they're friends. What do you expect? Let me tell you what I expect. I expect my friends to tell me the truth. I expect my friends to say, hey, you're good, but you're not the GOAT. You're not Michael Jordan. You're not as good as Michael Jordan. That's important. And before you fanboys say something like, no, that would be, your friend would be hating on you. No, your friend would be telling you the truth so that you could actually accomplish that goal if you wanted to. So that you can know where you stand and how much more work you have to do. That's what a real friend would do. That's what I would want my friends to do. I don't want friends who are just gonna co-sign and say things that aren't true. So yeah, he says LeBron is the GOAT because no one has had to endure that amount of scrutiny, blah, 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 blah. And to that I say a couple of things. One is, what does that have to do with your playing on the court? I don't care what's happening outside of the court. Once you step on the basketball court, what are you doing? And I don't care what's the reasons behind what you may or may not be doing. You can say, oh, well, LeBron had more scrutiny, so, He's cracked under pressure on the court several times. Well, guess what? He's cracked under pressure several times, and that keeps him from being the GOAT. I don't care why it happened. It happened. So yeah, but let's talk about this. LeBron James being scrutinized. Poor LeBron James. Poor fanboys. You guys just can't get a break. And I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because your king chooses to put himself in a line of scrutiny. He chooses this. And he chooses it over and over again. The definition of insanity. You know the rest. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So at this point, I have to either believe that LeBron James likes being scrutinized or he's insane. Because you see that your actions keep getting the same result. When you get on here and say, that one right there made me the GOAT, you're putting yourself in the line of scrutiny. When you say stuff like, I've never cheated the game, you're putting yourself in the line of scrutiny. When you declare yourself king, the chosen one, you're putting yourself in the line of scrutiny. When you are in a crowd of people making a king sign above your head, you're putting yourself in the line of scrutiny. Yeah. When you say things like, you may not like me, but you will respect me, you are putting yourself in the line of scrutiny. So fanboys, talk to me. What do you expect? What do you expect when you constantly do these things? Especially once you have seen the results that happen. So yes, LeBron James is heavily scrutinized, not because he's really scrutinized any more than any other superstar. It's because he constantly puts himself in the line of fire, to which I have no sympathy. None. But let's also talk about the flip side to this. Fanboys. The flip side is LeBron also uses social media to control the narrative and to brainwash his little kingdom of little fanboys, so that he has every fanboy in the world coming onto YouTube trying to defend his honor. Coming onto YouTube with the fanboy anthem saying, oh, you're just hating. Why are you just hating on this man? I've said this before, fanboys. Sports is competition, and therefore the fans, by extension, also have that same competitiveness. Meaning, when someone declares himself something, we fans who see and know better are going to challenge that. And I like to look at it as putting LeBron James in proper perspective. That's what it is. Now, so let's move on. So yeah, like I said, LeBron has also used social media to his benefit. But again, we're talking about this, but none of this has anything to do with his play on the court. But since Rich Paul brought it up, and he's brought it up several times, we're talking about it. So on the flip side of that, they also talk about how Michael Jordan could never survive in this social media climate. And this is obviously a hypothetical because we do not know. But here is what I have to say to that. You mean to tell me that the most competitive person we've ever seen, that the person who took any slight to him as a reason to go and drop 50, the person who went as far as to make up scenarios in his head to keep him motivated to drop 50 on your head, would have a problem in the social media age? Because the way I see it is, for a person like Michael Jordan, who was always searching for fuel to stay at the top of his game, in the social media age, he's going to have unlimited fuel. All he has to do is cut on Twitter and see some comment from some random person saying, "Oh, Jordan dropped the ball last night. He didn't play that well." And what do you think is going to happen next game? He may even have as few bad games as Jordan has had in his career. He may have less few games in this age of social media where he can just open up his phone and get some inspiration to play for the night. Nobody's talking about that point. Nobody's talking about the man whose Hall of Fame speech was basically bringing up everybody who had slighted him directly or inadvertently and talking about how that just added fuel to the fire. And you think that he's gonna crumble in the social media age? First of all, and Too Raw for Sports brought this up. You know, it is arguable that within the regular media that Jordan was scrutinized more than LeBron James. Because and Too Raw said this as well. It is well known that ESPN, you had to talk good about LeBron. And Too Raw brought up Paul Pierce and Tracy McGrady and people like that. You had to talk good about LeBron on ESPN. Couldn't talk bad about him too much, or you'll be in jeopardy. So it is arguable that within the regular media, Jordan was scrutinized more. But in the social media age, it is very possible that Jordan may even be better, because he would have fuel to the fire on a daily basis, all day. So yeah, but even having said all this, it's pretty irrelevant, because the bottom line is LeBron James' play on the basketball court does not stand up to the eye test against Michael Jordan. Period. He's just not that good. LeBron James is not as good as Kobe Bryant. LeBron James is not as good as a few people. Like I said, I have him just outside my top 5, and I understand why people would have him lower than that. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that LeBron James, poor LeBron James, was the most scrutinized athlete in history? Or do you think that this is just another narrative put out by his circle of fanboys to try to find a way to get his sneaker in the door of the GOAT conversation? Let me know what you guys think. You all have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. All right.